Please be advised that this video is for the sole purpose of entertainment. Any views are purely my own, are subjective and may not necessarily be true. I do, however, do extensive research for all of my videos. All photos have been found on the public domain. I am using them under the fair use and fair dealing guidelines. I urge everybody to do their own research. Well, hello, it's Murky Meg here. It's Sunday the 19th of January and oh my lord, what has happened? First of all, I'm going to have to apologise. I have the lurgy. I am hoping that my voice remains intact throughout this video. If not, it will break a bit. I'm fine, I'm okay. Face is slightly swollen, but on with today's video. Statement was dropped at 6:30 last night. It was strictly embargoed until that time. This is the statement from the Queen. Following many months of conversations and more recent discussions, I am pleased that together we have found a constructive and supportive way forward for my grandson and his family. Harry, Meghan and Archie will always be much loved members of my family. I recognise the challenges they have experienced as a result of intense scrutiny over the last 2 years and support their wish for a more independent life. I want to thank them for all their dedicated work across this country, the Commonwealth and beyond. And I'm particularly proud of how Meghan has so quickly become one of the family. It is my whole family's hope that today's agreement allows them to start building a happy and peaceful new life. Then there was a statement from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are grateful Her Majesty and the royal family for their ongoing support as they embark on their next chapter of their lives. As agreed in the new arrangement, they understand that they are required to step back from royal duties, including official military appointments. They will no longer receive public funds for royal duties. With the Queen's blessing, the Sussexes will continue to maintain their private patronages and associations. While they can no longer formally represent the Queen, the Sussexes have made it clear everything that they do will continue to uphold the values of Her Majesty. The Sussexes will not use their HRH titles as they are no longer working members of the royal family. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have shared their wish to repay sovereign grant expenditure for the refurbishment of Frogmore Cottage, which will remain their UK family home. Buckingham Palace does not comment on the details of security arrangements. They are well-established independent processes to determine the need for publicly funded security. This new model will take effect in spring 2020. So they haven't been stripped of their titles. This is a misconception. What has actually happened is that they still retain their royal status, so that's the HRH, His Royal Highness, Her Royal Highness, but they are not allowed to use it. There's a big difference. I'll explain why I think this has happened later on. They can no longer use their HRH titles or formally represent the Queen. Buckingham Palace announced this yesterday and the royal family severed all official ties with the couple. This is a humongous deal and the ripples will be felt quite significantly. And I think there will be a period of time where everything adjusts. They are paying back the £2.4 million that the taxpayer has paid for Frogmore Cottage, and they will also have to pay the market price rent for it should they wish to remain in residence. They will no longer be working members of the royal family and they will not receive public funds for their royal duties, and the Duke has been forced to give up his much cherished military appointments. They will now be styled as Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. But what isn't clear in the statement is whether or not they continue to use Sussex Royal. Now, I think that one is a humongous key in all of this. It's a strong brand. They've built that brand very heavily over the last couple of years. It is their linchpin. If they are not allowed to take it forward because it contains royal in it, will it still retain its power? It's a funny old thing, the Queen's mind, isn't it? I think she's a very canny lady. She's thought well and hard about the future and what might happen in the next couple of years with regards to Harry and Meghan. I think the whole of the royal family can see her for what she is, and this is the way that it seems that they are getting a little bit of what they want, while really the Queen has the upper hand. Why haven't they been completely stripped of their HRH titles? It's simple. They have to make it seem that the door is always open, and they want the door to be open in case this all goes tits up and Harry comes crawling back on his hands and knees. If they took the titles completely away, it would be much harder for Harry to come back into the fold, but by leaving them with the HRH titles but not letting them profit from them and use them, he still has them. If they use them, it will be reviewed, and more than likely they will be stripped of them. They are dropping the 5% sovereign grant, but still retaining that 95% allowance from Daddy. However, what this doesn't make clear is on a royal engagement, all their expenses are paid for. So travel, clothes, everything. So all those dresses that Meghan wore on royal engagements have been paid for from the sovereign grant and therefore from the taxpayer. They won't have this anymore. I think it's not been made clear, but because they're not representing Her Majesty the Queen, I don't think they will be entitled to take from that sovereign grant. I think that was made clear in the statement. They're not going to be using taxpayers' money anymore, except the caveat of the security. Now, you remember over the last couple of weeks, it's been banging on that their security costs were going to be, if they were stayed in Britain, it was going to be around about 600,000. Well, that went up, didn't it, to over £1 million if they lived in Canada. It's now being estimated at a staggering £7.6 million. How has it jumped up so massively to £7.6 million? That you and I, dear Britons, are going to be paying for. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. I think they're doing this to make sure that they are completely backed up under any circumstances. Should anything, God forbid, happen to Harry and Meghan, then they can't be used as villains and said, you took their security away, because that's what happened to Diana. They're basically trying to safeguard themselves. By not stripping them of their HRH, also the Queen has been canny in another way. She knows what Meghan is like. She has got her number marked quite clearly. It's almost like a donkey and carrot, isn't it? The donkey's always going to chase the carrot. Well, Meghan's always going to chase the money. By saying to them, you still have your HRHs, but you're not allowed to use them or profit from them. It's almost tantalizingly teasing her, isn't it? Saying, can't use them, but they're still there. If she uses them, then all hell will break loose, I believe. And also by keeping the security element with the royal protection officers, the Queen will know exactly where they are and what they're up to, because ultimately the royal protection officers work for the Queen. Now, I think the Queen has been extremely gracious in saying that Meghan was a much loved member of the royal family and how she's dealt with the scrutiny very well and that she's fitted in quite quickly. She had to say this. What else could she say? She could hardly turn around and go, she's a witch, she's taken Harry, and all the names under the sun. This is the Queen. She can't say that. But what she's doing is, it's almost like a master game of chess, isn't it? It's killing them with kindness, I think, and the Queen is a master of that. If you go over the top and make it seem like you are being ever so gracious, ever so kind, aren't they wonderful? And they turn around and do the complete opposite and they stab her in the back. Who's going to be the villain and who's going to be the hero? I think the biggest bit of this statement that is completely left out, as I've said, is the Sussex Royal name. It's not clear from the statement about what happens with that and whether or not they're allowed to use it. Don't think they will be, because it's got the title royal in it and they are no longer members of the royal family. They are not working members of the royal family, but you never know. Their Instagram brand is solid and it's not very clear from the statement exactly how that will happen and what will happen to their Instagram account, whether or not they're going to have to take the royal off it. But I can see that affecting their brand quite considerably if the Royal has to be dropped. They've trademarked Sussex Royal all over the place, and that's going to be a humongous ding to their ego if they have to drop it, and quite a expenditure to sort out too. Like I said before, the Queen is extremely canny, and what she's effectively done is said you can still claim your titles, but you cannot use them. I wonder what will happen if they use them. Now, they have used them recently, and a lot of people are up in arms about this. They dropped a statement on their website, and in fact this came after the two statements from Buckingham Palace, one from the Queen, one from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now, they used their Royal Highnesses, and a lot of people are in uproar about this. Come on, they don't get dropped till spring 2020 this year. You think that she's not going to drop them earlier. She's going to milk those titles for all they're worth until the very last second they get prized out of her hands. It is interesting to note that they are now free to earn what they want, but they cannot benefit from those titles. They can go off and do as many shady deals as they want to, but like the statement says, they will uphold the values of Her Majesty the Queen. But whose values are we talking about? Do you think that it's the HRHs that hold the power, or are they just as marketable with the Duke and Duchess titles? While it might seem that it's a hard Mexit, I don't think it is. You know, Harry and Meghan get to keep their HRHs but can't use them. I think that's the biggest downfall for them, that they have them and it's dangling in front of them but they can't use them. They get to keep Frogmore Cottage and they have to just pay rent. Well, that would be the case anyway if they moved anywhere else. They get to keep their allowance from Daddy. You know, they're in their 30s while she's in her 40s and they're still being paid for by Daddy. It's quite a shame really, isn't it? And they don't have to do any royal engagements anymore, and they can go off and make as much money as they like. But do you think that they will be able to make as much money as it's been expected? I'm not quite sure whether she's going to get the recognition in Hollywood that she would have liked. I think they're gonna hold a little bit of sparkle for a while, and then I think the shine will fade quite rapidly. So I actually think that Meghan will be quite happy with the result and kind of rubbing her hands together. I think she'll be delighted in the first instance because it seems that she's got what she wanted. She's free to make millions and millions of pounds, but I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think there'll be a quick surge and then people will lose interest because they're just Duke and Duchess of Sussex. You know, it's a bit like Wallis Simpson and Edward. You know, he still held his HRH, but she was just a duchess. Nobody really wanted to mingle with them because they knew that what they had actually done. It was a brief interest and then people just kind of just put them to the wayside. I think this is going to be history repeating itself. The main issue is whether or not she can refrain from using her beloved HRH, because we know that she loves to pepper her Instagram posts frequently with that title on many, many occasions in one single post. She loves it. So I think while she may think that yes, it's a victory, we can go and make our millions, I don't think it's going to be that simple. They've also had a huge hit with their reputation. I think the world sees them now for what they really are. And I think especially Harry, with losing his military titles, that is shameful that he's accepted that change. You know, he was very proud of his military titles, and I think that's going to be a huge knock for him. Will he start to resent Meghan? Because this is clearly Meghan's idea. She knew what she wanted from the get-go. It was her plan to isolate him, make him drop his royal affiliates and his royal family, and come over to the dark side with her. That is LA, I mean. So I think there will be resentment starting to creep in once the novelty wears off of being free. What was your thoughts on this bombshell announcement last night? What were your initial thoughts? Did you calm down while you thought about it? What are your thoughts now? Do you think that she will use those HRH titles knowing that she's not allowed? And do you think they will eventually be thoroughly stripped of it? Why do you think that they have retained the titles but are not allowed to use them? Do you think my theory is pretty spot on? Tell me what you think is going to happen now they are free. As always, let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.